Hi guys, Jalitza here. I was thinking about the direction that I wanted to take with this channel, and I decided to bring in my investment partner in on this social media aspect of it. Initially, I was going to just head spirit myself, but seeing as how we've both been interacting with you guys on Twitter and on YouTube, I figure it's probably best to go ahead and bring him in now since the channel is fairly new, and we can go ahead and revamp and retitle it to reflect that. And basically, we've been partnering up and discussing each investment with its pros and cons and with our different perspectives. Me being more conservative and he's more of a risk taker, but it kind of balances out and it helps us decide what the best investments are for our portfolio. And hopefully, it'll benefit you in case you don't have someone to bounce those ideas off of. You can hear our dialogue that we'll now put on the air so that you can perhaps see the other side of the coin. If you tend to be conservative, you can take his perspective into account and maybe it'll help you with your investments. So without further ado, I think I'll just go ahead and hand the mic off to him and have him give you guys some insight on his perspective with the cryptocurrency market.
Thanks, and I'm happy to join you officially because the fact of the matter is, although I didn't originally set out to, engage people on the social media side of things, I've just been so excited. I have an all or none type of personality, and while it took me a while to get into this, and just to give a little bit of background information, I was aware of Bitcoin a couple of years ago, listened to some Audible files, and had a pretty good understanding of what it was all about. However, I wasn't aware of the altcoins and the entire market that's out there. So I just figured that I had missed the bus, the boat, and the rocket ship. So I just really wasn't looking into it. But a couple of months ago, I was talking with you, and we decided to go into this jointly for all the reasons you just outlined. And ever since, I've just been, head first, right. Nonstop, day and night, obsessive even. So I've actually not necessarily hijacked your account, but I have responded several times using your account. And like you were mentioning, moving forward, we'll make that known and maybe change the name or whatever else, since we're going to do this together as well, which I agree as well. It'll be very beneficial to people who don't have someone else there investing with them, someone else has a slightly different personality or whatnot, because you're not completely conservative and I'm not completely crazy, just gambling or whatnot. I'm looking to invest wisely. Let me just stop myself for a moment here. And you've been hearing this for months now, right? Just my enthusiasm, because I understand, looking at things from the big picture perspective, that this isn't just an investment opportunity, although it's an investment to us. I look at it on a much grander scale here, and it's also not just a way to break free from fiat currency and everything that entails, right? They've got us under their thumb. They control us in so many ways that most of us never even think about. And more importantly, the technology end of all of this. The government, who has been stealing our money, decides who gets funded and who doesn't. And you've had inventors throughout the decades who have been buried in the bureaucracy, just never getting any funds. And some of them not only get buried beneath the bureaucracy, but they literally get buried. And we were speaking about Jim Ogle the other day, and this was a guy who in the 1970s invented an engine that would get 100 miles per gallon. And I would venture to say that there have been many others who have invented things of even greater significance than that. So not to be all conspiratorial or whatnot, get political, but I think most people nowadays realize that these things happen. They're, not all conspiracies are theories, and they have an interest in making people like that disappear, and more to the point, or back to the point, keeping that knowledge from us. Our own knowledge, they're stealing from us. Again, they're stealing our money, then they're funding, basically giving their buddies funds who are not doing anything, and then the real talent gets wasted.
Correct.
Literally, sometimes, again, just they get wasted, right? So we have to look at this as a grand opportunity to break free, not just from their fiat currency, but again, the technological aspect of this, that we can fund people directly. We can decide, this is a great team. These people are going somewhere. These are talented young people or old people, whatever, and they have, a project that I really, truly believe in. So we're really analyzing these things and looking into it on an individual basis. But I always keep that big picture in perspective here. So therefore, when people in this realm are misrepresenting us or whatnot, I take it personally. because I know how serious this is. It isn't just an opportunity to make money, guys. It's much bigger than that, and it will affect your life in more ways than you could ever imagine if we allow them. I don't think they're going to kill this market, okay? I think they're looking to control it. They're looking to scare people away, and that's a fact. You can see it all the time, every single day in the mainstream media. They're trying to scare people away so they can control it. If they can't kill it, subvert it, and that's exactly what they're doing. And I mentioned this to you a couple of years ago. I said, listen, this is a great opportunity here. And I saw right away that this was a way to break free from fiat currency and everything else. I didn't know about all the altcoins and all this technology that was there, but that's when I really got super excited. And I knew they were either going to kill it or subvert it. And in my eyes, at least, from what I'm witnessing unfold right now with this high-level institutionalized market manipulation that we're seeing here, $100 billion, $200 billion removed almost in an instant. That's not just whales, okay? These are, these people are on a whole new level. And like I said, not all conspiracies are theories. And you basically have a global organization, people who are supremely powerful. They're not going to just sit back and allow us to develop an alternative currency that's out of their control. No way.
Or allow us to have a launching pad to propel us to a future that we should have had all along. And that was one of the points that I made in my previous video, that this
robbing us of our future.
This is a launch pad for us all to propel ourselves into a future that is beyond anything that we could have ever imagined, because we've been so subverted.
Right.
Just to segue into another point, being that we're relatively new to this, I think that it gives a different perspective than those that have been in this crypto market for, a year or more, or in investment in general, because they tend to use certain vernacular terms that may be difficult for a newcomer, right? A new investor to understand. And I know for us, it was a learning curve. We really had to dedicate some time in understanding all these things like the MACD and,
just all sorts of terms that people throw around. And at first you're like, what the heck are they talking
You're
about?
overwhelmed.
You have to go back and figure these things out. And a lot of times people who have been at it a while, they expect you to know these things, right? And it's fine. We all got to do our own work. We all have our own learning curve. But I think sometimes it's good to we're not going to dumb anything down, so to speak, but it's good that we're not that far removed from not knowing very much at all about any of this. So perhaps that could also benefit people as well. And one thing I won't do, though, I'm not going to offer constant disclaimers. This isn't financial advice, and I'm not knocking anybody who does that. They've got to cover their rear end or whatnot. But we're all adults here. And as a matter of fact, if both of us think something's no good, we're not going to talk about it.
Right.
But if one of us likes it and the other one doesn't, then that's probably when we would hit record so that we could put the pros and cons out there. Or if we really both like something, we're going to let other people know about it as well.
Absolutely.
And in that instance, obviously, we're probably invested in it, right? So
right.
You can say that we're trying to do whatever you're trying to do and complain about it until the end of the world. But this is the only response you'll ever get from me right now.
Exactly.
As far as people trolling and throwing accusations around or whatever else.
We're big boys and girls, and we make our own decisions.
Exactly. So that's the last time you'll ever hear anything about that. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and transition over here to some things that are going on, and maybe something that can help people as far as advice that I would give.
And some lessons that we've learned.
We would learn some painful lessons, but I mean, those are the ones that you learn the most from. The more pain you feel from it, the more you're going to learn,
Exactly.
right? So there's a positive in everything, and I think we all need to maintain, anyone who's representing cryptocurrency as a whole should try to remain positive at all times, because again, this isn't about any one coin. This isn't about being in the green at all times and just riding up to the moon like it's all fun, or just making money in general, right? There's a much bigger picture here that I think we all need to first and foremost understand. I understood it right away, but I just don't sense that most people do. They're not really thinking this through to understand just how serious this is. They're looking to make money, and they might see one aspect of it or the other and have an appreciation for that. But I'm really super excited because it's an alternative to the old ways, and
Right.
it's a way to break free in so many different ways. And I really cannot express it here in words as passionately as I truly feel about it. And I'm going on about this all the time. But just keep that in mind. I mean, I really look at this as more than just an investment.
And it's really interesting, too, that it's a type of investment that it's almost community-based. And because we're kind of new, a very small group of people that are starting in cryptocurrency in comparison to the traditional markets, it's really neat that it's a community-based effort, and I'd like to see that. I'd like to see everyone helping to have the market grow, because we'll all prosper at the end. It's not about greed and malice, and that's not going to get us anywhere. It's only going to get us to a point where we're going to allow the mainstream media to win. Their FUD will
right.
Ultimately
the mainstream media is just an extension of the powers that be.
Right.
And I view this truly as 1%ers against 1%ers. Less than 1% of the people are in this market, and we all know who the 1%ers are when we're talking about the powers that be, right? And I have nothing but contempt for these people who have enslaved us and who want to deprive us of our future, our freedom,
right,
our technology, everything, right? So we need to keep that in mind at all times. And when you have these actors in the mainstream media telling bald-faced lies or whatnot, take it personally. I certainly do. Mm-hmm. And we need to then put our best foot forward, as you were covering recently, and those who represent us as well. Right. We need to put our best foot forward, because ultimately this comes down to winning the minds of the masses, right? And we're trying to win these people over with the truth. We're trying to sell them on their freedom, whereas the mainstream media and all these other voices are flat out lying to them.
Right.
And having a background in both psychology and sociology, I understand the types of tricks of the trade, so to speak, what works when it comes to controlling the masses. And I see them putting all these simple techniques on full display. They've been studying people for decades, and they know just how to steer the herd in whatever direction they want them to go in. So keep that in mind as well. I have this big picture perspective where I'm looking at the people on the other side of this, fully understanding everything that they're attempting to do in their attempts to manipulate people. And we on the other end of this need to, first and foremost, when we're in it, we need to be in it for the long haul. We need to demonstrate strength and the courage of our convictions, right?
Absolutely.
And we need to, again, put our best foot forward.
Stay positive and definitely make sure that it stays like this community support for each other, because we want this market to prosper so that we can all prosper. And then these new investors, and it'll draw in the average investor when they see that this isn't like your traditional, stocks and bonds. This is a different type of realm where it is community based.
Right. And if somebody's just looking for a pump and dump, or they're just looking to make a quick buck, they can just go on and move on to somebody else, right? So anyways, just to get to the meat and potatoes of things here, right? With any advice that I can offer at this early stage in the game, this individual here, because I posted a comment using your account, but nevertheless, I was just trying to get a feel for what's going on here. $80 billion was pumped into the market, like instantly. From the last time I clicked refresh on CoinMarketCap, and I know we all do that. We got tired fingers, right? But it really wasn't that long. $80 billion up just like that. So I'm just speculating here. Is it going to go to 650? Is it going to work its way up to 650? And then are they going to pull the floor out from underneath us? And then people, they want to be guided in life and in this part of life as well, in their investments. A lot of people, at least, would rather just have someone tell them what to do. We're the type of people, we want to learn. We want to become experts. And we're not going to be satisfied until we're experts in every single aspect of this, of anything that we're doing. But a lot of people, I would say most people, just want to have guidance. What do I do? What do I do? Jeff, what do I do? Jalitza, what do I do? Anyone that they perceive as being a little bit ahead of them on the curve, the learning curve, they're just looking for advice. Tell me what to do. So the only fair answer I could give this individual, and I'm not an expert, is that every single instance, every single coin or token that you hold is to be treated as something that's individual. What am I going to do? What I'm going to do with one, I might not do with the other. So obviously, we need to have a diverse portfolio. We've accumulated 40 some right at this point in time. I think so. Some of, and here's the thing too: when you first get into the market, right, you're not getting those low prices, right? Initially, you're just kind of trying to make smart investments and get on some things that are a little bit safe, those top 10, top 20 coins. And then you're trying to put yourself in a position where you can get in at the rock bottom prices, right? So there's some things I did and I feel really good about. Utrust, Syndicator, a few others that I'm holding for the long term, right? So I would tell this individual, I'm not going to chance losing out on those. But I might, and I'm the gambler here, right? I might swing trade when it comes to the things that are out of my top 10 lists, and especially the ones on the bottom. Right. Some things I'm holding right now, just trying to wait till it gets to a point where you definitely hold, you don't want to take a loss, but I'm looking to get out of certain things because initially for instance, you brought up Hello Gold recently.
Yes, I did.
And we got in on that at 5 cents.
Yes.
And it just pumped up to 35 cents just today. We didn't take that ride. We got out. Why? Because the tech looked good and it seemed innovative and something that we could get behind. But the team wasn't very active.
No.
So that was something that discouraged us. And also, as you pointed out in a recent video, and it's certainly not being nitpicky, but when you have the CEO and other representatives of billion-dollar companies wearing T-shirts, throwing peace signs, and it's just something. It's not professional. It's not someone that I want to represent this market as a whole.
Right.
And I certainly don't feel confident, trusting them blindly. If during the less than 1% of the time they can't put forth the effort to put a suit and tie on. I don't like wearing suit and ties either, right? But there's a time and place for everything. And if people are trusting me with $1 billion, and I want to lure in, other investors to give me another $1 billion, I'm going to do what I have to do. Right. And if it doesn't instill a sense of confidence to see individuals like this lacking in the effort department. Even if you hate wearing a tie, just do it because some people care. I might not, you might not, but now that I'm invested, I do care because I know other people care. Absolutely. And more people would invest in you. And like you were pointing out in a recent video as well, the mainstream media actors, they know how to project power and they know how to influence people. So the average person, again, is a follower, and they're going to look at these people in suits, and that's who they're going to look to for guidance. He's saying, it's creating all this FUD. Don't go into Bitcoin and the market's going to crash. It just crashed, and it's a bunch of lies. But that's what works on people. So understanding these things. Again, while I don't care if someone's wearing a suit and a tie, if that guy has talent and he's going to, take his particular project to the moon, great. But he should also be, if he's that smart, he should be intelligent enough to understand that the average person is either, they're led by that.
Right.
Right?
They're influenced by the presentation and the delivery of it. And that's for certain. So especially when they're at these conferences or live streaming, you have to uphold a certain image of professionalism. Right. And then, if it's casual Friday, you're in the office doing your own thing, by all means, have at it.
And I don't want to call certain people out by name. We're invested in them, right? But I'm just making the point here. When I see things like that, my instinct tells me, well, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong about them. I'm certainly not as sure or as, excited about them as I was before. So things like that, just to bring me back to the point that I was making, will make me reevaluate my position and want to get out of it. So to the point, and to answer this question as briefly but as thoroughly as I can, I'm going to look at everything on a case-by-case basis. And I've learned here, first and foremost, not to chase, not to FOMO. That's the worst thing that you can possibly do.
Absolutely.
Okay. However, if I'm getting out of something at a time where I'm up, I don't care if I'm only up a little bit, right? If I get out because I think it just went up too much, too far, too fast, and it's going to pull back because it's healthy for it to correct, right? Absolutely. So if it goes up too far, too fast, 100% on any given day, then I might look to do, a little swing trade there. Sell at wherever I think it's going to be at its highest point. If it does, great. If it doesn't, then I'll just cancel that order and go along for the slow ride like I intended to. But if I sell it and I still want to get back into it because it's one of my top 20 projects or whatever that I want to stay in, I'll sell it. Like, for instance, we're talking about if the market goes up to 650, what should you do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at those that are out of my top 5, top 10 or whatnot that I don't want to risk. And if they've gone up too far, too fast, I'll sell them at that high, and then I'll put in an order where I think it's going to drop to. If it drops, great. I get back into it. If it doesn't, then I have liquid assets there that I can then invest in the next opportunity. And as we briefly touched upon earlier, the second worst thing I think is when the market crashes and you don't have liquid assets to invest. Right. So that's another painful. Well, again, you have problems like bull market problems, and you have people who are really losing money. So I don't want to just woe is me because we lost some profits, right? But luckily in this market, you really don't have to lose profits if you don't sell. Just hold. Unless you think this project's just going to the crapper and there's no saving it.
And those projects exist, and we've, made our mistakes too. And like we said, sometimes we've gotten out of things like Hello Gold right before it hit its real peak, and that's okay. We've got into some projects that were really risky, but we chose not to invest a lot. That was just kind of like, we'll throw a little bit at it, see where it goes. And if it goes down the toilet, then it does. And we don't really cry about it.
But you have to do your due diligence, right? So initially, I'll confess to this. I'm looking at people who appear to know what they're talking about. And some of them I'll still swear by, like Jeff at Altcoin Buzz. And I'm like, wow, this guy, looking back, I look back at like all of his videos. I'm like, wow, it's amazing how right he has been.
Right.
And so then, like, well, if he's been right this many times and he says something's good, then I'm going to look into it, of course. But I'm going to lean more with what he's saying than what my gut feelings tell me. Right. But then after you're in this for a little bit, you start to understand you have to live with these decisions, win or lose. So I would recommend, even if we went on to prove ourselves right 100% of the time, you still need to look into these things.
Absolutely. And
you shouldn't invest emotionally. You shouldn't be an emotional investor, but you have to feel good on all levels. If it's not important to you for these guys to be wearing suits and ties, then that doesn't matter to you. And that's probably like the 5th thing on my list when I'm looking at them, right? But you have to feel good about a project, the team, and everything that they do at all times, or how can you feel comfortable holding for a year or two or whatever it takes?
Right. And it also takes effort, guys. It's not a quick buck. So you do have to put in the time to stay on top of these projects. And I think a lot of people just want to hear a YouTuber tell them when it's time to jump out and jump in. I mean, at some point you do have to put in the effort to keep track of the projects that you're invested in. You can't just leave it to, Reddit or a Twitter update to tell you when it's time to get out.
Right. And another thing too, at certain times in this market, you cannot miss. You can literally throw a dart against the board and it lands on whatever, ABC coin. And it'll work out for you, at least in the short term. But don't get spoiled by that. Anyone who's in this market now, or who's been in it for even only a week, right? That's all it took. You would have been riding high just 10 days ago or so. And now all of a sudden it took a dump halfway down, right? So keep that in mind, anyone who's listening. When the market's going wild again and going to the moon, it's not always going to do that. Keep some liquid assets, keep things in perspective, and be smart about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
So
and that's kind of what keeps you afloat. It's just making those really smart decisions at the right time. And the right time, you'll know when it's there. I mean, I think initially it's kind of overwhelming, but you'll start to see the trends. I think the one biggest advice I can give people is really start to learn what it is that the charts represent. I think that really helped us to kind of anticipate certain pullbacks and understand when something's going to peak and when it's going to correct.
Yeah, you have to look at both sides. There's a lot of people out there who will do one or the other, but not both. There are some people who do both, right? But nevertheless, you have to, do every little bit of due diligence and investigative work that you can possibly do till you feel good about something.
And I'll admit to you, I'm not an investor. That I didn't go to school for, I didn't get my degree in finance. So if I can learn it, I think anyone can learn it because the charts really aren't that difficult, and it's something that I think is fundamental.
Well, I mean, you're more pragmatic and by the book.
Yes,
and,
I know.
and crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and I don't know. Again, maybe people can gain something by listening to us moving forward. If not, then hey, we're learning. And even as Steve on Altcoin Buzz said, by putting things out there, you feel a responsibility to do a little bit more research and to make sure you know what you're talking about before you open your mouth. So they put that pressure on us. So that's what we'll get out of it, if nothing else. So anyway, let's end this on, unless you had something else to say, but I wanted to end this on some news here. And I hadn't heard about it until someone in that same comment section, which you might have saw when it was on the screen a minute ago, had mentioned this conference here. We can all speculate what's going to happen afterwards. But it's certainly, there's a lot of big players that are going to be here. This is in San Francisco on Friday the 26th. So basically a week from, it's the 20th now. So a week from yesterday. And what they're trying to do here, the gist of it is bring the minds together from China and the United States, all the brilliant minds who are in this together. That's awesome, right? That's something that could really light a fire in this market. Things could really take off at that point.
Right. It's a bridge, essentially, that they're trying to build between the different regions.
Like it says here, between the East and West. And I had one of these open up where it show you all the different people. You got Charlie Lee there and a lot of heavy hitters, basically.
Right.
So
I
You gotta
definitely
keep an eye on this.
I
for
would
sure.
definitely look into the coins that you hold and see if any of the representatives will be attending, because you never know if there's going to be an announcement or perhaps something that's actually going to benefit the rise of your coin and your investment.
Yeah, whether you're looking long term or short term, right? So we can sit here and tell people, oh, we're in this for the long haul. Not everyone is, but you still, obviously, want to keep your finger on the pulse of what your team is doing and when they're doing it, because it has an obvious influence. So, I don't know, guys. Look into this and see what you can make of it yourself. If any good news comes out of it, especially from all of these big players coming together, I think that's certainly a date to look at.
Absolutely.
It's so far away, right?
It seems
like so far away.
Like we've said before, a week in cryptocurrency feels like a year.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. I think that's it, right?
Yeah. So definitely, comment if there's anything else that you feel like perhaps you would like us to cover. We'd be happy to do so.
Well, people are going to, I think I said here maybe twice that you're a lawyer, so maybe people are worried about taxes or something. And I think
I'm not a tax attorney. I'll say that.
So you save yourself from that.
Exactly.
But anyways, so I'm happy to be on board here. And we'll be active, even if we're only talking to 10 people, I think. So it's just, what we're getting out of it is
the pressure of making
exactly.
sure that we're very refined and that we've learned as much as we possibly can, so that we're giving you the correct information.
And we're having these conversations anyways, right? So we might talk about a certain coin or project that we're not on, on the same page on, and have that discussion and let people see the steps that we go through, the pros and the cons, and looking at it from all these different angles or from two different perspectives. So I think that, again, would be beneficial to some people out there who feel all alone and they're just looking for someone to tell them what to do. Well, here, they can have us both talk it out, and then we can tell them what our ultimate decision is, and then they can make their decision. Absolutely. And then they can hear both sides of it. So just to wrap this up here, as far as what we're looking to do moving forward, as far as the community is concerned, we'll share our Twitter page and YouTube or whatnot. And the purpose of doing that is not to beg for your likes and your following or whatnot, but we want to have input. We want to respond to people. So keep in mind that we're looking for your feedback and your questions or whatnot. And we're going to try to, not respond to everything, but as much as we possibly can. And that's going to be a focal point of ours on the back end of every video, maybe half of the time, responding directly to questions or statements that people have made on our social media pages or whatnot.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. And also we'll make sure to include some more imagery and detail so that you can follow along in the process of our evaluations of either coins or in answering your questions.
Yeah, having windows open or whatever we're going to talk about, and they can see exactly as we're going over things or whatnot. So we'll definitely do that moving forward. And I look forward most of all to hearing some feedback from the community.
I as well.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.